All right, good afternoon, Hillcrest community. Welcome to the golf education of the HCC at Home virtual series. As you may be aware, we had to kind of boot some of you off the golf course due to a severe thunder and lightning storm that came through here. I think they had ping pong size hail that came through the Canyon County. So thanks for everybody for paying attention to our direction on your safety and executing your exit as quickly as possible. Trust me when I say we do that for your safety and your benefit. So we really appreciate your cooperation there. Today's episode, since the weather wasn't so great outside, thought we'd bring it inside. We're going to go through some education as it relates to the new World Handicap System. It was formerly known as GHIN, and in fact, the World Handicap System chose to go with the GHIN Foundation and programming to make a universal and world handicap program and system. So we continue to use the GHIN program today, as we have for a number of years. So what we're going to do today is touch on all the key points that changed. I will not get into how it's calculated necessarily, but anything that I bring up to you today is available on the usga.org website. There is so much information in there and great pictures, great illustrations that kind of help depict and draw out the images as to some of this detail that we'll go over today. As well, we'll go into some of the functionality of actually posting your score and what kind of options you have to do that. So if you have questions as we go along, we're live right now. Shoot those questions over to us. Otherwise, have an email or give us a call in the golf shop. We'll be happy to get you situated. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to turn you over to the main computer screen that we have up here, and we'll start talking through all of the key components of the new handicap system. So bear with me, though. We're going to make sure this is square and looking really good before I get going too far. Okay, we'll hold that right there for now. So, the purpose, as stated here, the World Handicap System, it includes the rules of handicapping and the course rating system. Its purpose is to enable as many golfers as possible the opportunity to obtain and maintain a handicap index, use their index on any golf course around the world, and compete or play recreationally with anyone else on a fair basis. So really what the biggest change here is, in the past, we had to adopt Rule 3-5 or 3-5 when people were playing different sets of tees based on different gender and different sets of tees being played. So now when you have your course index, or your handicap index, and then we convert that to your course handicap, that handicap will play against another individual's handicap from whatever set of tees that they're playing on as well. So there's no further calculation required or anything else. So what your course handicap is from the white tees will play against whatever the course handicap is from someone playing the green tees. There's no further adjustment there. So let's jump in here. Key definitions. We'll get into some of these. So the low handicap index achieved by a player within the last 12 months, that's your low handicap index. We're not going to talk a whole lot about your hard and soft cap. That information is really more of an internal number, and it's really based off of your trend and scores. The playing conditions calculator, very popular question that we get in the golf shop. It's the newest functionality within the World Handicap System that was not previously there. So what the playing conditions calculator is, it is a procedure used to evaluate if a course and or weather conditions on the day of play deviate from normal playing conditions to the extent that they have a significant impact on players' performance. So the big question is, well, is that a calculation that I have to manually do? And the answer to that is no. That calculation already takes care of itself. Apologize. Back out of there. So that playing conditions calculator, like I said, is an automatic calculation. So how that is calculated is, let's say today as an example, you know, we had a severe weather pattern come through, which actually forced us to remove everybody off the golf course for safety purposes. Well, let's just say it was raining all day long. It wasn't dangerous, but otherwise we allowed play to continue and without further disruption. So the conditions on the golf course would probably dictate that the golf course was longer because the ball probably wasn't rolling as far. It wasn't carrying as far in the air. It's probably dense. The weather or the condition of the course affected the scores posted for that day. So how this calculation comes to be is, let's say 100 players posted their scores, and the calculation and the difference from the rating on the tees that were played for that day from all those scores, if they vary to a point that's significant, that the computer all of a sudden realizes that the course had to have played harder, it will automatically adjust everybody's score that was posted that day. Now that's very important to realize what we just hit on there. The importance of posting a score every day that you play on that same day is very important to be able to calculate the course conditions automatically. So it's not just the rain, it's not just wind. It could be a day where maybe there was a day where we had a course revenge out there and our superintendent had all the flag sticks and the holes cut in really exceptionally hard positions. In that scenario, the golf course is going to play harder and the players' scores are going to be higher than they normally shoot. There's no further manual reduction needed there. It's automatically done with this playing conditions calculator. It recognizes that on average, everybody's score was higher than they normally shoot, and it will calculate based on those scores posted for that day. So that last statement we made there, let's say that you played today, we had really rainy conditions, and that affected the playability of the golf course, and there was automatically a reduction or a calculation done for this playing conditions calculator. But let's say you forgot to post your score and you have to post it the next day. You can post your score and reflect that date. If there was a calculation for the playing conditions calculator, your score will be reflective of that calculation. However, your score would not be part of that calculation as it relates to this playing conditions calculator. So as we go a little bit further along here, you're going to see that the importance is really, the emphasis is on posting the same day you play so that this playing conditions calculator can be effectively implemented. Okay. We're going to go into the net double bogey. This is the maximum score that you can post on any hole in relation to your handicap. The old way used to be equitable stroke control. And based on your course handicap, you could take either a maximum of a double bogey or a 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever, based on your handicap range. This makes it much more simple. So max score for a hole for a handicap purpose, which is the sum of the par of the hole plus any handicap strokes applied on that hole and an additional 2 strokes. So let's say you're an 18 handicap, you get 1 stroke on every hole. And you have a par 4 hole number 1 as your first hole. You take a 9 on that hole because you hit in the water a couple of times, and now you have to post your max score on that hole. What is that going to be? It's going to be a net double bogey, or it's going to be a double bogey plus handicap strokes. The par is 4. A double bogey would be a 6, and then any handicap strokes I'm supposed to receive. I'm an 18 handicap. We made it very simple. I get 1 stroke per hole. So the max score I can post for that hole is going to be a 7. So a 7 minus my handicap stroke is a 6, which is a net double bogey. And we'll get to that when we show you how to post a score as well. Okay, so let's say you played 7 holes of 9, and you couldn't finish number 8 and 9, but you're still required to post a score for that 9 holes. Let's say we're in 18 handicap again. On hole number 8 and 9, you're going to take a bogey because you're looking for the net par. I get 1 stroke per hole. If I take that par plus that 1 stroke, that's going to be a bogey on each hole, okay? So let's talk a little bit about the minimum requirements for getting a handicap. It is 3 18-hole scores or 5 9-hole scores posted. Okay, that'll get you your initial index there. There's no limit on the time for completing the submission of these scores. It's just whenever you get that sum total, it'll then start calculating your index. There is a strong recommendation, obviously, that we post our initial scores by submitting a hole-by-hole submission for score. And let's see, I'm going to go through a few of these just to kind of get through the high points. Really don't need to know a whole lot of this. Okay, here's that maximum score for handicap purposes. I'll show you this screen because you can reference this back if you ever have any questions. So again, that net double bogey equals par plus 2. So you're looking for a double bogey. So par plus 2 strokes, then plus or minus any handicap strokes received or given on a hole. Player with a course handicap of 11 receives 1 stroke on the first 11 allocated stroke holes. On a par 4 with a stroke index of 6, the player's net double bogey score is calculated as follows. The par was 4, the double bogey is plus 2, plus the 1 handicap stroke received equals a 7, just as we talked about. Now, when we look at the scorecard, this is that example right here, okay? When we look at this, the par of the hole is up here on this column or this row. Okay, this is going to be the rating of each hole in the second one, and then the score shot hole by hole. If you take a look at hole number 17 as highlighted here, Janet Smith scored at 8. But a net double bogey, the max score she would need to post is an adjustment of -1. So she shot a 95, but from a score posting standpoint, she's going to post a 94. Okay, so I'm going to go to the how to post functionality here to show you how easy this can be. As well, this can be done from the GIN app. So this right here is our posting computer that you would find in the golf shop. So once we open up and we don't have the restrictions in place of all these touch points, you're going to be able to use this screen. Look yourself up by your last name, and you're going to need to type in the entirety of your last name. I'm going to use Travis Anderson. He's our gym guy or gym man, wellness guy. We're going to post a score. In fact, I'm going to post hole-by-hole score. Okay. It defaults to Hillcrest Country Club. The number of holes is going to default to 18. It's a home score, and it's going to default to the white tees. Day played is today. So I'm going to post this hole-by-hole, and I'm just going to keep posting 8s, knowing that my handicap indicates I shouldn't take more than a net double bogey. The score that I posted and actually shot was a 72 for 9 holes. The adjustment score down below was a 57. I show you this extreme example because it could potentially mean that we have to keep track of quite a bit of information. Well, if we let our posting kiosk or our GIN posting app, if we do our score posting hole by hole, it does all the work for you. It makes it very, very simple to where we don't have to remember all of these calculations. And this doesn't matter whether you're going in an away course or a home course. It's going to allow you to post your hole by hole, and it'll do the calculations for you. Some other features that are in our handicap system here that you can see when you're posting scores or otherwise you're getting into your handicap profile. Previously, under the old system, gin specifically, when I went to look up my handicap, it would also show my index. Well, part of the security updates that they went through with this World Handicap System is removing the availability and the visibility of one player's gin number. Okay, it's just a modern security that they put in there. So in order for you to log into the GIN app, and that's spelled GHIN, stands for Golf Handicap Information Network, to log into there, you're going to need your handicap number. Please email us here, golf@hillcrest.cc, or otherwise you can call us at the golf shop as well. We'll get that number to you, and you can start using that functionality within the GIN app as well. When we're in there, we can also look up our handicap information, whether it's going to be an 18-hole handicap or a 9-hole handicap, and from which tees we intend to play from. Okay, so if you notice on here, there's a big difference between Travis playing from the black tee and the gold tee. It's 8 strokes difference. As I mentioned early on, we talked about the Rule 3-5 that is no longer in play, because the course handicap that we are given is going to be able to play against any gender and any handicap from any set of tees without further calculation. Okay, so one big question we had when this new system was introduced the first part of January of 2020 was, hey, I noticed my handicap went down, not necessarily my index, but my handicap went down. Why is that? Well, it certainly is a personal question and fear that I did nothing different. I didn't even post scores over the winter. It does raise the question why your handicap went down. Well, the answer to that is there are 2 factors. One, the calculation of how a player's index is calculated is now based on the best 8 scores, the average 8 scores of the 20 as opposed to 10. So it's really taking the better scores within your handicap scores posted, and it's also calculating the par on any hole. With those calculations, what it did is it reduced every player's course handicap and how they're going to play the golf course, okay? So when you look at your handicap for the first time, I know most of you probably already have, it's going to show a course handicap lower than what you're used to with the same index likely. Just keep in mind that that was automatically applied to everyone. It's universal, and everyone else's handicap went down the exact same calculation. So it's all relative. It's just a matter of us getting used to a new look and a new calculation, okay? So again, if we wanted to look at a 9-hole scorecard as well, what our course handicap would be, we have that availability. See if there's anything else on there. Okay, so if we wanted to look at, let's say we want to post a score from another golf course. As I mentioned before, it does default to Hillcrest Country Club. If I click on this little top box up here, it's also going to bring up other clubs that we know that our membership is familiar with, being Crane Creek and Spurwing, the other private clubs. This way you don't have to type any of those out. You can just simply search for them, or if you want to look for another golf course, type in Warm. That's going to bring up any golf course with the name Warm in it. Obviously, Warm Springs is in Boise, Idaho. That's the one I was looking for. So by simply typing in a part of a golf course name and hitting enter, it should search for those golf courses with the relative spelling that you typed in. It will also have any available cities and states that those golf courses in for further confirmation. To simply change the number of holes, click on the number of holes. It'll give you 9 or 18. Score type is going to be home or away. Again, when we go to another course, that will automatically change to an away score. And then keep in mind for the men, the default tees is the white tees. And for our ladies, the default tee is going to be the gold tee. Okay. To change the date, simply click on that box and you can effectively go back to whichever date you need. However, it is very important that we post the same day that we golf. So let's go back to our PowerPoint. See if we can't find anything else of importance in here for us. And again, I'm not going to keep you too long on this video. Just want to hit on a couple of the highlights. Okay, so some of the acceptable scores. Scores in both match play and stroke play, including multi-ball or team competitions where players have not completed one or more of the holes players are requested to pick up when out of connection on a hole. So scores on all rated courses made during an active season, both at home and away. That second bullet point there is very important. Our posting season is March 1st through November 14th. If you play anywhere in Idaho during those times, those scores need to be posted. If you play golf from November 15th through the end of February in Idaho, that's a non-posting period. You won't even be able to enter a score from the state where those scores aren't able to be posted. Let's say you travel to Arizona or California where they were in those seasons. Those are active seasons for them during November 15th through end of February. You're still required to post those scores, and you can do that through the same process. So if you're accompanied by at least one other player, you're required to post a score. And that's important to note. If you're playing by yourself, you're not required to post a score, but it's highly recommended that you do so you have an accurate account of your index. Okay, this is another question that often comes up. When a player starts but does not complete a hole, the score recorded for handicap purposes is the most likely score. The rules of handicapping includes the following guidelines for determining a most likely score. This is very important. We get a couple of questions a year on this one for sure. So let's take the position on the golf course as our first indicator. If we are on the green within 5 feet of the hole and you've picked up, add 1 additional stroke. If you're between 5 and 20 yards from the hole, add 2 or 3 additional strokes depending on the position of the ball, the difficulty of the green, and the ability of the player. So if you're a better player and you're in this scenario, you're most likely going to be adding only 2 strokes, unless you're in an extremely difficult scenario. For those players who are above probably an 18 handicap, you're probably adding 3 to that one. Now, if you're beyond 20 yards from the hole, you're going to add 3 or 4 additional strokes depending on the position of the ball and the difficulty of the green and ability of the player. So keep in mind what this is outlining is the importance of, even though you may pick up on a hole and it's required that you're going to have to post a score, record the score on that hole that you most likely would have made. Using this diagram and this basis of these guidelines, this will help you determine what score you need to post for that hole. Okay, another thing that changed from the old system to the new World Handicap System is the number of holes played and the requirement to post a score based on how many holes you play. For 9 holes, if you play 6 holes or less, you're not required to post that 9-hole score. However, once you play hole number 7 of those 9 holes, that 9-hole score is required. And we talked about what you would post for holes 8 and 9 on that one earlier as well. So the big difference is when you get to the back 9, let's say you've played 9 holes, you go to number 10. The old system said you had to play 13 holes in order to post an 18-hole score. They just wanted to simplify it, make it a little more logical. If you played 7 holes for 9 holes, that has to be posted for 9. If you double that 7 holes and go to 14 holes played, now the score is required to be posted. So 7 and 14 are the requirements to post either a 9 or 18-hole score. Okay. Again, this just outlines that time frame. When should I be posting a score? Players should submit their score as soon as possible on the day they played, preferably before midnight. So what's happening with our handicap system? Why do I need to post that daily? The old handicap system went through a 2-week process before it cycled through to update indexes. So on the 1st and the 15th of each month, that's when it would calculate any scores posted during those time frames. The new World Handicap System has changed. They're adapting. We want information almost immediately. So the system itself is updating anyone who holds a handicaps index daily. What does that mean for us posting scores? Your index is not going to change every single day. In fact, what we're finding is the handicap changes very little. However, the system is very responsive if you're playing on a daily basis. So what that's going to allow anyone to do is to have a very current handicap, playable handicap based on how often you're playing. So if you're playing every single day, like we do have a few members that do that, and in fact, right now we have a lot of members playing every day, over 200 every single day, which is fantastic. You should be posting those scores daily. That way, when you play your internal game against your friends and fellow members, or if you played with somebody that was new, you're going to play with the most current index related to your playability in the most recent rounds you've posted. So, stress of posting the score the same day you play. If you don't play for 20 days, your index is going to be the same as it was the last time you played. However, if you play, you are required to post that score that same day. That way, when you go to play the next time, you have that score. It's part of the calculation of your index. So it's very important that we continue to do that. When we get into tournament play, this will be a question. We're going to answer it right now. When we get into our tournament play, we're going to set a time frame as to what handicap revision we are going to take. That is most likely going to be the cutoff date of tournament entry. We will not update indexes or course handicaps during the event. Okay, so once we start a tournament, that's going to be your handicap for a 2-day event. Okay, so we would not be changing flights. We would not be changing the strokes that you'd be getting. And that's more of a universal acceptance. You will find some variations from course to course. However, I think you'll find a lot of consistency that once you start a 1-day or 2-day event, the handicap you start with is what you will compete with the rest of that event. Okay, I just wanted to show you this slide so you have it, just in case you have any other questions. So the minimum number of scores required to have an index is 3. The number of differentials used to calculate an index is now 8 of 20 as opposed to 10. The playing conditions calculator, that is an automatic calculation based on all scores posted any given day. There's no further or manual reduction there. Okay, so an exceptional score reduction that considers all scores is a -1. Again, that's something that's going to happen if you shoot a score that's about 7 index strokes better than your average. It'll automatically reduce you. Okay, we're not going to touch on that soft cap. So I know there's a tremendous amount of information that we went over today. It's a lot to take in, but we felt like this is very important for you to be aware of what the changes were and some of the questions that we were getting before we went into this little quarantine, and otherwise we don't have events going on. But we'll touch on this more and more as we get going throughout the season. Also keep in mind that as a facility, we are checking your score posting. So we are doing random checks to make sure that our members are posting our scores regularly based on the rounds that you've played here. And I do encourage you, if you go to another facility and play, you post those scores the same day as well. You know, we need to be members and golfers of honor and integrity. We need to make sure that our handicap indexes reflect our true ability and otherwise not be doing anything shady or mischievous to adjust our handicaps manually. Okay, there's a lot of functionality to this new system that's going to take care of that, but it truly is on us as individuals to make sure that we're being honest with the scores we post, just as always. I thank you for listening in today. We're going to cut it off now. If you do have questions, comments, concerns about this, need some further follow-up, just email us or give us a call. We're happy to answer your questions. But again, if you want further clarification on anything here, you can also divulge into the website usga.org for further answers. Hope you all stay safe And I know we'll see you out here soon. Otherwise, we'll see you on the golf course. Thank you.